Child's Eye Foundation believes that every child should grow up in a family, not in orphanages. So we run a prevention service. We do foster care, tracing and reintegration, and domestic adoption. The largest part of our job is finding adoptive families for children. When I was assigned Cheryl's case, the first step I took was to immediately start tracing for her family members. So we got a call from the hospital and police that there was an abandoned child. She was abandoned in a septic tank. Usually when we receive calls from the police, the hospital, or the probation office, the first step we do is to place up adverts for the abandoned child. We place up adverts in the national newspaper and place up radio announcements on the national radio station. It's basically important to place up the adverts within 24 hours in order to find clues and find some traces so that you can get to the family. If this is not done within 24 hours, then there are gaps. It's very difficult to find family for the child. I worked with the police because they're responsible for the safety and well-being of children. It's important to work with the police because they know the community well. It's also important to work with the local government and the community members because they know their neighbors very well, they know the community. So it's good to engage them in the tracing process. Usually the community is given 30 days to reply to newspaper adverts and then 2 weeks to reply to radio announcements. The process of tracing takes between 4 to 6 months. In Cheryl's case, after 6 months of tracing, we were unable to find known family for her. So when this happens, we usually take on other alternative care. So in this case, we went for adoption. A child profile was drawn up that was presented to the alternative care panel. This profile entails the activities of tracing and the developmental milestones of the child throughout the process they were staying with us. The alternative care panel consists of a representative from the family court, a police representative that basically works with child and family protection unit, a health representative, an education representative, a civil society representative, and an adoptive parent. This diverse group of experts is important because they view the assessments and ensure that proper procedures are followed in order to place a child in a safe family. So in this case, Cheryl was approved by the alternative care panel to be placed into an alternative family. Usually when a child is approved for fostering to adopt, we look at the child's needs and the capabilities of the prospective parents. In Cheryl's case, we had a list of prospective parents who had already been approved by the panel, but most of them could not take on Cheryl because she's HIV positive. So this made it difficult to match her with a prospective family. For this reason, Cheryl remained at our emergency care center for nearly 2 years as she watched most of her friends go home one by one. It actually made us learn a lesson that it's a daunting task to find family for children with special needs. So this made us more proactive to try to find family that is willing to take on the child. By April 2016, Cheryl was celebrating her 3rd birthday, and this was becoming a worry to us because she had stayed long in the home despite being approved for fostering to adopt. Usually the emergency care center is a temporary solution. We were determined to find a family for Cheryl because we believe every child deserves to grow up in a loving family. We were not quite sure where to turn, so we resorted to a special campaign through the Ugandans Adopt Facebook page. The Ugandans Adopt social media platforms have been in existence since 2013, and at this point they have been largely used to report success stories of domestic adoption. We decided to make a special call to action to try to find family that will take on Cheryl. We had the hope that among the 10,000 followers that follow the Ugandans Adopt page, there would be one person with a heart that will be willing to take on a child like Cheryl. We really wanted to be open about Cheryl's condition, and so that we are able to find family that is willing to take her on despite her HIV status. We received 3 families that expressed willingness to take her on. We zeroed down to 1 family that were able to take through the adoption process in order to take on Cheryl.
So I opened my Facebook page only to see a posting about Cherry. The story touched me. So immediately I decided to post back that our house is open for Cherry.
When it comes down to advocacy, I learned that it is important to utilize every tool, because there are people out there who can make a difference, who have the willingness to make a difference. Social media is a powerful tool for recruiting adoptive families. And since then, we have used this technique to try and find family for children with special needs or older children, and this has been a success. One of the families that expressed interest in Cheryl from the Facebook post proved promising. So what we did, we carried out an adoption assessment. Usually this assessment is to ensure and assess the capabilities and willingness of the family to take on a child. These adoption assessments cover a number of topics. For example, they cover the relationship in the family, how they discipline children, the accessibility of the family, the housing, how they understand the behavior of children, their financial stability, the dependence in the family, and generally the composition of how the family is made up of. In Cheryl's case, we paid special attention to the family's capability and willingness to take care of a child with special needs. Once the panel approved the assessment, we traveled to Eastern Uganda for 10 days to observe the bonding process of the child. The bonding process is important as it helps the child and the family to adjust to one another. During this process, we provide counseling and support, but we do not provide monetary support to families. Finally, Cheryl went home and settled in well with her new family and siblings very fast. Cheryl is happy in her new family. She's a darling to everyone around the house since she's the youngest child. Children with special needs should not be isolated. They should be loved and cared for just like any other child.